Welcome to the Project Kameleon overview video. My name is Craig Storms and I'm a content architect for Autodesk. We're presenting today the initial release of an Autodesk Labs technology preview, which will allow you to author infrastructure model content for Autodesk products. Specifically in this release, the scope of infrastructure content is drainage system content, roadway drainage particularly, and the solution is tightly integrated with Infraworks. Here we have Infraworks in a sample model with a very simple design road that's heading up into mountainous terrain. Here you can see, if I highlight the design road, I have the opportunity to add pavement drainage, I can delete the drainage, and I can add culverts. These are the design features where you can expand the scope of content using Project Kameleon. If we look more closely at the drainage system, we can zoom in and tilt the terrain upward. And we can see underneath where the individual structures become apparent. Here's an access structure or a manhole. Here's another. Have the piping system connecting it. And these two objects are the inlets that you can see above the road. Here we have three components of the design system that I've artificially elevated in Z to bring them above the road simply to make them more visible. And here you can clearly see the nature of the content we're talking about. So in this particular model, there are two inlet structures that have been assembled, and these inlet structures have a grate that you can see, an inlet frame, and an underground structure that have all been assembled using Project Kameleon to author the content that you're using in this model. Similarly, we have an access structure or a manhole that has been assembled from a cover, a surface structure frame, and an underground structure. So that's the quick introduction that provides an overview of what type of model content we're talking about and how you might use it in an Infraworks model. Now that we've taken a look at how you might utilize custom drainage content in an Infraworks model, let's look at the Project Kameleon authoring tools themselves. Here we have the parts editor with the startup screen. You have the opportunity to open catalogs. There are two catalogs that are included with the library that installs with Project Kameleon. One contains imperial content, the other contains metric content. You can open these to begin an edit session and create a draft catalog that you can work on until you're ready to post your changes. You can also open catalogs directly from an Infraworks model. You can browse to a file where you may be able to open a catalog, and you can work with a recent list. The recent list will reload your draft catalogs that are in progress. And I'm going to reload my imperial catalog where I have some changes made that will help with this video. When you open up a catalog, you're presented with the parts editing view. On your left is what we call the navigation panel, which allows you to browse the various part families in the catalog. You can see that it's organized by part classes. And if we select on surface structures, that's the part class we use for authoring inlets and frames. We also have underground structures and grates and covers. These are the parts that together are combined to create assemblies. If we take a quick look at assemblies, we see there are two categories. There's inlet and access structures and culverts. For this video, we'll focus on inlet and access structures. I'll go to Structure, click on Surface Structures, and I'm going to create a copy of an existing surface structure. All right. I have here a rectangular curb inlet with cover. Let's say I want to create another rectangular curb inlet that adheres more closely to the DOT standards in my region. I can select this, and by right-clicking, I can make a copy of this. It's a good idea to make a copy so that the part family becomes your own version that you control in the future, and there's no opportunities for merge conflicts in the future when updates to the catalog become available. I'll give this a very simple name, My Rectangular Curb Inlet with Cover. And then I'll click Next. We have a wizard-like workflow where you move from left to right and progress through the definition of your part. The Graphics tab enables you to pick an appropriate shape from the existing library of surface structures. If I go to the next tab, I can modify properties as needed. And on the next tab, I actually begin the editing. This particular screen is compressed quite a bit because I've reduced my resolution for the recording of the video. However, we can improve real estate by pulling the reference image for dimensioning off screen. Now we see the part size table more clearly, and we can browse the values that are available here. For simplicity, let's just change one size. We will change this from 40 by 34 to 34 by 34. So we'll change the size name and the abbreviated size to match. And now we can move over and adjust our size values. Gutter and cross slope will default to 0. And we will change the surface structure length to 34. Other values will leave the same. The height, the wall thickness. You can hover over any of these parameter names for tooltips to help you understand better what they might mean. You can reference the image that was shown earlier to help you better understand how these values control the sizing of your part. You also have the option to export to Excel. If you're doing a lot of table editing, that can be a very powerful way to author new part families. When I click Next, I see my part in 3D space, and I can verify that the sizes are as I expected. So you have real-time graphical feedback on the size editing that you've completed. I'll say I'm done, and I'll save my catalog, and that completes the definition of a new part family. I can now immediately go to Assemblies, click on Inlet and Access Structure, and right-click to create a new assembly. I'm presented with a selection for the base part for my new assembly, and I will use the new curb inlet that I just created, and I'll give it a new name. When I click Next, I'm presented with the options for dragging components on to create the assembly. In this particular case, the grader cover is built in, so all I have to do is pick the matching rectangular base structure. Once I do that, I can click Next, configure the properties further, click Next again, and now I see in the size validation view the actual full assembly with matching parts. These parts have been matched by the structure port. There's a structure port length and a structure port width value that are used to align the sizing. I can visually verify each of the individual sizes are as I expect. And if I'd like, I can increase the size of this by grabbing the tab and pulling it off the screen. Makes it quite a bit easier. I can visually browse the part to make sure it behaves as I expected. Once I'm satisfied with all the different parts, I can click Done. I've now completed my modified catalog, and I can choose Save to save that catalog. Once your catalog has been completed and you're satisfied with your edits, you can choose Publish and Validate Post your catalog. The Validate option runs an integrity check on the catalog to make sure there are no errors. There are no required parameters that might be missing. Once you have a valid catalog, you can post your changes. And your options include you can post to your local library, your My Parts library, or you can specify a specific Infraworks model and push those changes directly to that model. This completes our introductory overview for Project Kameleon. Please give it a try and do let us know what you think. Your feedback is very important to us. Thank you so much for watching the video.